Welcome to the Adam Kramer Show, where we talk about the hottest pro-life topics. In this show, we are going to be doing 3 segments. We're going to be asking, analyzing, and arguing. Today, we're here with Abbey and Myah, of course. Myah is the founder of GreatLife Teens, which is an incredible pro-life movement on social media and across the country, across the actual world. So, Abbey, tell us a little bit about yourself today.
I'm 13. I'm from Missouri, and the reason I'm pro-life is because I was an accident, and they chose to keep me. And then on top of that, I have an older sister who has almost 2 children, and the other one's going to be here soon. And if she had chosen abortions, they wouldn't be here. So I wouldn't have my niece or my future niece or nephew.
That's incredible. And I just want to thank you for your witness to that. It's very brave of you, especially in a world that would tell you that you're wrong and will do everything in its power to stop out that flame that's burning inside of you. And I'm very glad to see, you said you were 13?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Wow.
I'm just very glad to have you on here today. So the first segment, let's do the asking. So you have a question for us. Why don't you go ahead and ask that one?
Yes, I want to discuss the alternatives of getting an abortion because I feel like they don't talk about that enough.
I would agree with you. I think that there are a lot of alternatives and people just don't know about them. And that's kind of a problem, considering that, abortions have become more and more easy to get. They've been more and more attainable. And that's really just because you're driving down the highway and you'll see a billboard for Planned Parenthood. And you'll it's really upsetting to see that this has become so normalized and so accepted in our society. So let's go through some alternatives for abortion. So the first one I want to start with is pregnancy centers. Throughout the country, throughout the world, there are pregnancy centers that women can go to seek help, that they can live in, they can be fed at, they can be taken care for. Really everything that they need will be supplied. And the only problem is that those aren't publicized enough. They're not, people just don't go out and talk about pregnancy centers. They're always like, well, don't get an abortion, or they'll push adoption, which is a very difficult process, especially if you're a struggling teen mother. That's crazy hard. And it can usually cost a lot of money as well. But pregnancy centers around the world are free, and there are people who volunteer. There are people who donate. It's a very good alternative, especially considering that child will be born and not aborted, which is amazing. And I think that there's also pregnancy centers also help mothers get on their feet as well. Myah, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think definitely that pregnancy centers are a huge thing. One thing that I think about, though, is why aren't pregnancy centers showcased very much? And a lot of this, like Adam was saying, is they're not publicized very much. And I guess my question is, why aren't they publicized very much? And I actually was at a pregnancy center a few months ago, donating some stuff from GreatLife. And I was talking to them about GreatLife, and they were like, well, we can't be publicized, because if they were publicized, then they would get hit hard by the media and they would get shut down because people don't want Planned Parenthood doesn't want pregnancy centers, and there is so much funding going to Planned Parenthood, they can shut groups like pregnancy centers down super fast. And so that is an issue that we are having with pregnancy centers right now, but they should be, us pro-lifers should be backing them and showing them and creating those alternatives in the for pregnancy centers specifically.
Exactly. And so pregnancy centers are a good alternative, as well as adoption is a good alternative. It's just that it's a long process and it's a difficult process. There's so much that you have to do, but I think that it's also a beautiful thing for maybe a couple who isn't able to conceive on their own naturally. And, if there's a child who, wouldn't necessarily be getting the best care if they were born, there are loving families that will take them in. And it's just upsetting that it's a difficult process to attain.
Yeah.
It's upsetting that, and it's not like adoption is an option, but it's just a difficult option.
Yeah.
To attain, because the problem with that is that abortion is always seen as the easiest way out, the easiest way to kill a child, really. And so it's very upsetting that, that's become the easy way out instead of giving the child to a loving family.
Yeah.
Also, what else?
Adoption. I think, adoption definitely is an option, but I think though pro-lifers they advertise it too much. And they basically try to make it sound like it's easy. And our job here is not to lie to you and say adoption is easy. However, it is easier than abortion. 100%. Abortion is seen as the easy way out, but what it does to our society, what it does to you, what it does to the mom is insane. And adoption is an option, and people and let me tell y'all, babies are adopted out of the foster care system and out of adoption agencies like that. There is no backup. People say, well, they'll be lost in the system. Babies are not the ones that aren't getting adopted. Babies are adopted like super fast. And though it is a process, it is a long process, there are pro-life groups that will help you do that. And along with just other things. Abby, did you have anything to say on alternatives?
Well, other than you can do adoption, you can do the pregnancy centers. There's so many groups that do GoFundMe's and nonprofit charities that will help. There's Let Them Live. That's an organization that helps you, and they help the mom provide for the baby up to 2 years after the baby's born. They help you get back on your feet and provide for you and the baby.
Right.
And there's just so many more other organizations that do that.
Yeah, 100%. And that's one thing with GreatLife that we're trying to be able to do is, if you need a baby registry, let us help you. Pro-lifers we're not just pro-birth as a lot of people think. We want to help
that's a really mainstream argument that we just want the baby born.
Yeah.
And that's not true. Obviously we do, but it's a lot more than that. We want a fostering, loving society that accepts them. And, they're really the biggest minority that is persecuted. They're really persecuted.
They really are, yeah.
And it's very upsetting to me, especially that they don't get that attention that they deserve. They're not seen as people. Yeah. And I think that's where it really needs to start. Yeah. Seeing a child as a human person from conception to natural death.
Yeah.
That is the pro-life argument that a person's a person, no matter how small.
Yeah. And I think
Dr. Seuss.
And I think the thing is you take it back to the toddler argument. You wouldn't kill a toddler that you don't have the means to take care of. So say you had all the money you needed, say you had all the resources to take care of the child, and the child was born, and then you lost all those resources. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that you can kill the toddler, right? But and it's the same with a child. If we truly believe that it's a child from the moment of conception, then we can't abort them just because we don't have the resources. However, I think, you take it back to those alternatives again. What we need is a community, and abortion destroys that community. Mm-hmm. Abortion makes women live in their shame, makes men live in their shame by themselves. And then we lose a community. And that old saying, it takes a community to raise a child. That's what we want to bring back together in the pro-life movement. And that's why I say, the pro-life movement I believe is the only movement that will bring love back into this world. It's the only movement that will bring community back into this world. And that's the only way that we can help these women. And so abortion takes away that community, but the alternative to abortion is helping that woman. And that's what the pro-lifers are seeking to do. And there are statistics behind that.
That's also what GreatLife Teens is striving to do, to make these things accessible, to get them publicized, to get them, get teens active in their community. Because when we have that community, that loving community that will accept the children no matter if they are, they have any birth defects or anything like that, no matter what, they have dignity as a human person. And that ought to be respected.
Yeah.
And religiously and constitutionally, religiously, we believe that every human deserves a chance to live, deserves a chance to be baptized, to be
to fight for life,
and to repent from their sins, especially with death penalty and stuff like that. They should be given the option to, come to Jesus and to, live as a Christian to go to heaven.
And I will tell you, you contact GreatLife, you contact, any pro-life group if you are considering an abortion. And I know the pro-life passion. We will figure it out, and we will help you step by step figure out. Maybe you want to keep your child. Well, then there's those crisis pregnancy centers, and they will help you get back on your feet. And then there are so many pro-lifers with money or without money that will help you. And I just want to say the hotline. So the hotline for an unplanned pregnancy is 208-985-5617, 208-985-5617. So if you need help with an unplanned pregnancy, call that number, because we will help you figure it out. We do not leave anyone hanging. We do not leave anyone hanging. And we want to help you and your baby in the womb to have a great life. And then you can call the GreatLife number too as well, which is 832-730-9862. So 832-730-9862. And we'll help you figure that out too, because we won't leave people hanging. And there are alternatives to abortion. I don't know. This is kind of already the analyze segment, and I'm sorry, I'm talking.
Yeah. I mean, it's a smooth transition.
But in Texas, I don't know if this law was passed or not, but it was a bill to basically give women, before they get an abortion, a list of alternatives to abortion. Because here's the thing, abortion is not healthcare. That's the basis of abortion. Let's not even talk about the baby in the womb. Let's talk about the woman. Abortion hurts the woman. And so, and women have the right to know. We all have the right to know. Our constitutional rights, we have the right to know. Women have the right to know what abortion does to their body. They should be told what abortion does to them, what it does to them psychologically, what it does to them physically, what it does to them mentally. Like abortion, women have the right to know. And so there was this law that it was a bill called like the Right to Know bill. And it should be like they should be told all these risks that go into abortion, but they should also be given a list of the alternatives to abortion. And maybe the woman is perfectly capable of taking care of the child. And maybe she doesn't necessarily maybe she just needs to, she needs some incentive to see that that's a child in the womb. And so maybe, that's where an ultrasound comes in. But, as far as, alternatives go, there's really, there's one alternative really, and it's having the child. And then after that, it's, giving the child up for adoption, or maybe it's keeping the child and having help with that. And that's why it's so important to have that community, to have that friend, even if your significant other isn't supporting you in this, like, you should be, you should have that group, that community, those friends to do that. And I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'll give it off to y'all. That's why it's so important in families to foster not shaming people, because I listened to this a talk I was in, but he said, parents or teens, like you can tell your friends this, but parents should be able to tell their teens, you're going to leave. And if you make a mistake, that's okay. I want you to be able to come to me. And, if you are pregnant, or if your significant other is pregnant, and say, this is what, we're pregnant and we want to help you. And, parents should be telling their kids that no matter, even if they're disappointed in them, there should be no shame in that. There should be no shame in keeping their child. We should foster those ways. So even if you just have friends, guys, friends who tell your friends this, be like, hey, if you ever end up pregnant or your significant other is pregnant, come to me. I will help you out. We will figure this out together, because it truly, truly takes a community to raise a child, and women need to feel secure in who they are. And so just make sure to foster those situations of uplifting people and letting them know that you're always there. And that, my friends, as a pro-lifer, is the alternative to abortion. It's being there for the people who are considering abortion, and let them know abortion is not an option. It should not be an alternative to life. It should not be. So anyway, that's my spiel. Okay.
Cool. All right. So is there any other issue that you see with the pro-life alternatives to abortion that we could look into solving? How could we solve these problems, do you think, Abbey?
I think they don't advertise it enough, and instead of putting up the Planned Parenthood, put up some signs saying, here, like, you can go here to get help. I noticed this about Missouri's government. I don't know about all the other states, but they actually have a program for unplanned pregnancies where you can go and seek help, and they will help you up until the kid graduates, basically. If you cannot support the kid, they will help you. Yeah. And there's nowhere you can get an abortion in Missouri now, which I'm really happy for.
Yeah, you live in Missouri.
But they need to advertise it. Yeah, they need to advertise it better, where you can go and get the alternative plans to help raise your child.
Yes, yes. Advertising, yes, 100%.
Social media, in the news.
Yeah. Republicans cannot, or like pro-lifers can't get off social media, guys. I just have to say this.
Yeah. They're going to try to silence you, and they have the power to do that. They don't have the right, but they have the power to do that. And it's shocking that they're able to take this much control over, advertisement and getting good news out there, spreading the gospel. And if you're a pro-lifer or a Republican, or if you are feeling suppressed by the social media, big tech, don't get off of it. Don't get off of it. If you get off of it, they win.
Their mission is to get you off of it so you can't reach anybody for it. I've gotten banned on multiple accounts for spreading the gospel and for spreading awareness of abortion and how wrong it is. Yeah. And all I do is keep creating a new account, because you have to keep fighting. Yeah.
Right. It's very brave of you.
No matter what.
Because they're very powerful, and it's very difficult to keep that up, especially with all the hate that people are spreading towards pro-lifers. It's so difficult to keep that up, to keep up with spreading the truth and spreading the good news that a child is from conception to natural death is a child. It is an independent life, and it's not the mother's body, and it's not her choice to kill it. Yeah. And that should not be an option to give her. Yeah. Because it's not helping her in any way.
Yeah. It's not helping the mom in any
way. Yeah. And there's Christians who don't believe in having the alternatives. They're pro-abortion or pro-choice. And it's this is a baby. This is a gift from God. Mm-hmm. He meant for you to have that baby, not for you to abort it.
Right. It's his plan. And when you try to take, if you try to put your will in front of God's will, that's really ultimately where sin comes in. Yeah. That's where you're trying to play God, trying to, God's the only one who can give life and take it away. Yeah. It's not a human right. Yeah. Yeah. And when you try to do that, when you try to step into God's shoes and you try to control your life, that's ultimately the product of sin. Not the product of sin, but the root of it.
Yeah. And we have to be starting, the social media, like they said, like you guys said, we have to be able to publicize those more on social media, and we have to get behind those, and we have to group together. And I had an interview with a lady from Stanton International, an incredible pregnancy center. They believe in giving women's health care. Abortion is not women's healthcare, and they're starting their centers across from Planned Parenthoods. If your passion is starting a crisis pregnancy center, then hit me up. I'll help you start one in your area. I'm not kidding. Or maybe it's helping with the advertising on social media. we need things like that. We need teenagers who know what they're doing on social media to go help those people and help them figure out how can we maximize this effect, because women deserve to know. Women have a right to know.
Right. And when we have all these people leaving social media, it's very difficult because that's the way that news gets spread around. Like that's many people's main news source is social media. And like, it's really quite frightening that, those credentials, you don't need very many credentials to be an influencer on social media. Right. So,
I mean, even if you have 10 followers, not even, you will influence someone, and that someone will change the course of history forever.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're spreading it, and I noticed this. I'll spread a message on Instagram, and 10 other people will repost it, and then they'll have 10 people repost it, and it's just a great community because everybody's sharing that, so everybody can know, so women can see that there are alternatives to getting an abortion and ending that poor baby's life.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And so,
absolutely.
I mean, guys, we have to spread the word and just don't be hating. Just create foster that area where people want to come to you.
And like a last point that I want to make for the analyze section is, if you are spreading the hate as well, you're part of the problem. If we're trying to foster a community of love to accept these children, and if you're being hateful and rude and, spreading judgment on others, we don't know their story.
Yeah.
Like they've got their own life. And it's not for us to say that they're terrible people. They just haven't seen the better alternatives.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of our fault. It's kind of all our fault. Yep. We need to present those alternatives. We've got a lot on our hands, guys. Like we got a lot to do, but like we
got a lot of work.
Yeah. Like I'm sorry to say, like we aren't advertising it very well, like Abby said, and we need to get on that. We need to get on top of that.
Okay. So moving into the argument section, I will be playing the devil's advocate, playing the pro-choice argument against the abortion alternatives. So let's get a scenario going here.
Oh, okay. Scenario time.
Right? Okay. So let's say I'm a pro-choicer who is not informed about these pregnancy centers and who really only knows about adoption and the foster care system. So I want you to, inform me in the best way possible. And I will try my best to come from a standpoint of a pro-choicer who knows nothing about this.
Oh, I'm excited.
So I'll start off with a question. Why are you going to make the mother give birth to a child if it doesn't have a good situation to live in? Why would you do that? Why would you put the mother through that trouble to pay for hospital bills, to pay for adoption, and to put them into a terrible foster care system at the end of the day? Why would you do that?
Well, they don't have to actually go off to foster, and the mom, it's not her body. It's living in her body. It's not actually her body. It's just a baby, and everybody says it's clump of cells. But instead of doing the foster system and putting up the baby for adoption, she could easily go to a pregnancy center and they can help her. She can raise the baby. They'll help her put up the baby for adoption if she doesn't want to keep the baby. But they can help you up until the baby graduates. If you go to a state place for it, governments help with that. You can go to Let Them Live and other non-profit organizations to get help and seek help to be able to raise the child without having to give up bills being paid over your baby. You can have both.
But if you're just going into the adoption system and the foster care system, that costs a lot of money. And even just having a child. So how could you do that otherwise?
You can go to the pregnancy center and you can get help. You can seek help from them and they will help you keep the baby and help it have a great and amazing life. And you can keep it and have your own little son or daughter.
And
it's more than just a fetus.
Yeah. And so I just don't understand how are there these pregnancy centers? Obviously I know that, raising a child, that's a lot of money. And even just having a child, that's a lot of money. So how can they do this? Doesn't the pregnancy center have to charge them?
No, they don't have to, because you're going there for the help. They are a nonprofit organization. They get donations from people who don't have money but want to help, from people who have tons of money, or even just resources donated that can help you, like diapers and baby bottles, anything you need for the baby.
So, but all right, but well, what kind of community? How are we gonna get that baby raised in a situation that they want, in a livable situation, instead of just putting them into the terrible foster care system?
They help you out. You can pay for your bills. They can give you a place to stay. You can stay at the pregnancy centers, or they can give you a place to stay if they're full, and they'll give you everything you need to be able to live a life with your baby.
So how is this all easier than abortion? Because if you just have an abortion, then you're rid of the baby forever. You're rid of the fetus forever. You don't have to live with the consequences of your actions.
Well, if you get an abortion, you do have to live with the consequences of your actions, because it hurts your body physically, it hurts you mentally, it messes with you. You can go into depression. A lot of women, after they get an abortion, there is a good percentage of them regret it, and they'll come out and be all pro-life and here to help others, because they realize the mistake they made, and they go into depression. They can be suicidal. There's just no guarantee what they will and won't do.
So where are all the pro-lifers who are supposed to be telling me about this stuff? Because our job as a community is to care for the mother, to care for the living being here in this situation. So why would you make the mother go through that?
They're all over social media for you to find. They're on the internet. If you can look them up, you can go around in the city and find one. You could ask somebody else for help, like getting there. There are so many places you can find pro-lifers willing to help you. And it's better for the mom, because they won't end up killing themselves and killing another baby. You can even die from getting an abortion. If you keep the baby, you won't end up dying. There's no chance of you dying from that, getting an abortion, and the baby will live.
So you're telling me that these pregnancy centers can let the mother have a child and get the mother back on their feet?
Yeah. They help many mothers.
I guess I never really saw it from that way. Okay. That was pretty good. That was good. Amazing. You did a very good job, Abby. That was
phenomenal.
That was really good. I think that kind of followed the conversation that a pro-choicer would have.
Yeah, no, I 100%. I think that was phenomenal. And yeah, I think I thought y'all both did great. And yeah, pro-lifers, just like, remember that we need to spread that message. And so when you go pray at Planned Parenthood, I'll help you get flyers that have all the alternatives to abortion in your area, And you need be sure to know the crisis pregnancy centers by you. Be sure to go help volunteer at them, because that's what we need. I got a speeding ticket last year. I don't speed, clearly. No, I got a speeding ticket last year. And for my community service, I actually went and worked at a thrift store that all their funds went to a crisis pregnancy center or a woman's home. So a lot of times you will be sent to a women's home where you'll be able to live. And I actually got to work with one of the women who was pregnant with twins at the thrift store, and they were giving her a job at this thrift store while she lived at their woman's home, and they fed her. They helped her with all their medical needs. So pro-lifers, there's so much to do. If you want to volunteer at a crisis pregnancy center, we'll help you step by step do that. Look for that on our website. Sign up for GreatLife, because we'll help you figure that out. But guys, it's up to us. It's up to our generation. It's up to us teenagers, and we can make that change. We can utilize it. We can show that we can be loving and just be approachable on social media, in person. And so these people can ask you about alternatives, so you can create those conversations.
And and I think that it's very important to know when you're not getting anywhere with somebody. If you're not getting anywhere with someone, if they're just so rooted in their ways, then I think that your time and your energy can be spent, and like honestly your mental health too, because if they're being rude and hateful towards you, it's not worth wasting your time on somebody.
Well, what is it that Father Huff says in our class? He says it's like you don't have to like, you can move forward, we can walk with someone, but you don't have to like.
Right. So go meet them where they are.
Yeah.
But don't hold them back from being.
And don't let them hold you back either.
Right. So meet them where they are, hold their hand, walk the path with them. But if they're holding you back, if they're just a stone, then it's not.
Yeah. I mean, all we can really do at that point is pray, be approachable, be forgiving, because we all have that story, like Adam says, and you never know what change you're making by just having a smile on your face, because that's what we are in the pro-life movement. We're love, we're Christ. And that's what we seek to represent.
And just remember to be respectful. Like, I had a conversation with a girl the other day, and I later realized she went to the same school as me. She was all about like, what about the foster system, and told me about how messed up it was. I was like, yeah, it is messed up, but we're trying to like help the babies. And we were respectful the whole time, and we got a great conversation going and made progress on her seeing the difference.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And maybe if they do end up pregnant, or they have a friend who ends up pregnant, they'll remember you, and they'll be like, I know someone who can help us out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Abbey, I just want to thank you so much for your witness to the pro-life movement, your witness to the gospel.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and having an amazing discussion with us.
Yeah, this was phenomenal.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Abbey.
Well, I'm really glad that we had this conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing.
Having me.
Yeah, it's a very unique conversation that not many people are talking about. How pro-life is not just pro-life, but it's pro-eternal life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that's basically what we're just trying to achieve for our culture and for the future generations.
And it's a necessity. It's a necessity that we really need.